All right, this is a really, really hard lesson to take, but a very important one. Very, very important one. Because you may not realize it, but your manipulator can change your memories. They can change the way you feel about things. They can change the way you feel about somebody that you care about, even someone innocent. So let's use another story so that you can understand how anybody could do this to you. So, this is our story. What could be more innocent than a puppy, right? So let's use a puppy for our story. So let's say that your neighbor, your kid, we're going to use manipulated parent for this, a coercive manipulated parent. So let's say that your neighbor has a puppy, right? And you'd go over to your friend's house and you'd play, or let's say you didn't have a friend, because it would be easier for the manipulator. So you played with the puppy, as you saw them play with it out front. You'd go over there because they're the neighbor and you played with the puppy. And then one time they said, we're going to be moving and we can't take the puppy with us. And so they tell your mom or your dad, whichever the manipulator is, maybe both, but they tell your parent, that your manipulated parent, or your coercive manipulated parent, that they can't take the puppy with them, and you love the puppy so much they'd like to give it to you. They're not going to be moving for probably about 6 months or so, but when they go, they'd like to be able to give the puppy to you. And so the coercive parent obviously doesn't have good communication. They don't want to look like the bad guy ever. So they say, oh, okay, well, yeah, we'll think about it. They plausibly have an approval, kind of, not really. And it can be very, and we're just making up a story here so, to get you the idea of how they could change the way that you as this child feel about that puppy. So the first thing that manipulator is going to do with anybody that's loving or healthy or that they want to eliminate, in this case it's the puppy, this poor innocent puppy, right? So the first thing they're going to do is eliminate contact so that they can start to build a different reality around your thoughts, feelings, and memories of this puppy. And so they don't let you go out and play when the puppy's out. Somehow it just doesn't work out. Everything's too busy. You just don't have time to go play with the puppy now. That kind of thing. Whatever the excuse may be, and it may be, well, instead of going playing with the puppy, why don't we go to the amusement park? That kind of stuff too. Anything to keep you away from that puppy. Because if you're in contact with the puppy, then the gaslighting I'm talking about will have far less effect, and they know that. So they're going to try to, again, control your circle, control your contact with whoever the target is. In this case, it's a puppy. Okay, so then you're a kid and you're going to sleep, and so they go, well, they'll start bringing up questions, kind of like, when they call you up and say, hey, are you okay with this candidate, molesting 16 children? That kind of stuff. Even though the candidate may have never even touched a child. But the insinuation. Okay, so you're going to sleep and the coercive parent starts talking about the puppy. And they talk about how, have you ever been afraid of the puppy? Did he ever bite you? Did he do anything bad? Did he tear this up? And if they can take actual situations, like let's say you were playing with a puppy one time with a toy and he kind of nibbled on your hand a little bit hard and you got afraid just for a second. Oh, well, but it was really just playing and you went back to play with it. Okay, that would be a critical memory they could manipulate. But actually, they don't even need that much. But we're going to use that just for the first manipulation. Okay, so you're going to sleep, and so they go, when you were playing with the puppy and he nipped at you, did you feel like he was going to bite you? Did you feel like you were safe? And you're of course going, of course I was safe. I was playing with the puppy. He just accidentally nibbled me. Okay, and then you go to sleep. Okay, and then the next night, I was thinking about it. You nibbled, but he did. Let me see your hand where he nibbled you. If that puppy ever bites you, you need to tell me. You'll tell me, won't you? Okay, and did you ever feel like he made you feel like he was a little aggressive? Did he ever bite you? And what about, remember that time when he got hold of your toy and tore that up? Did he seem like he was going to tear other things up? Did you ever? All right. You'll tell me, though, if you ever feel uncomfortable with the puppy, right? Now realize this kid's you're not even having contact with this puppy as you go through night after night after night of this kind of insinuating questioning right before you go to sleep. So imagine that you go through, a month of periodic gaslighting right before you go to sleep as a small child about this puppy. And they continue to bring up situations and repaint them as if you were somehow in danger or the puppy was being a bad puppy, the puppy was somehow maybe dangerous, They're, again, positioning themselves as being the protective, person when they're actually being coercive. And so they could even go further, and they could start to say, well, the puppy would be bad to have in our situation because, if they wanted to. But normally it's much more subtle, so we could take it into a person and they keep you away from that person that was nurturing you by labeling them, by disparaging them, by repainting memories with them. When you were with that person, did they make you feel uncomfortable? And here's the really sad thing is when parents use this in a divorce situation and they make that child the center of the attention for the divorce. They use that child as a weapon, and basically they do it out of their own hurt and pain. So understand that, again, hurt people, but when they take the memories of the other parent and they do that very thing with them, like they did to that puppy, that's a very, very sad form of abuse. And many, many of us have gone through it. I went through it. When I was a child, I was 4 years old when I got alienated from my mother. And my father had me afraid of her. And she was such a beautiful soul. She made her mistakes. We're all human. But her mistakes could not be forgiven because of the judgmental love that we had to have. All right? And so I didn't have my mother. I ended up with a stepmother who, didn't particularly care for me, which was okay because she taught me a lot of really beautiful gifts, like my ability to communicate, because she was a horrible communicator. But that was the way I was able to stand in my power in the house. Everything is a gift. But that doesn't mean you have to stay in it. And I'll have you know that even though that my stepmother has disparaged me just about every day that she lived on this earth, and most of it was complete crap, I still was the most kind, loving, and caring to her out of everybody in my household, everybody in my family. Even her blood children didn't treat her with the loving kindness and respect I gave her, because she's just being her. And I'm responsible for my response. So how do people do that to you? Well, remember, there's some basics. Number one, they're going to eliminate contact as much as possible, and if they can't eliminate the contact, they're certainly going to try to help you disparage any contact after it happens. So after you had contact with the puppy, when you got home, then, when you were with the puppy, did he bite you? Did he seem like he was going to bite you? Ever? If you felt like he was going to bite you, you would tell me, right? You wouldn't be, okay. All right, and did you ever feel uncomfortable? Did he tear any of your stuff up? All your toys are okay? Where are your toys that head with you? Okay, so they're okay this time? All right, but if he ever tears your toys up, you're going to tell me, right? I'm using the puppy so that it doesn't get too personal. But I'm telling you, it's the same thing. And now you remember the puppy story, because you certainly can't judge the puppy. He's a little puppy. and he was just playing with you. But suddenly he became the bad guy because the manipulator saw him as a threat. So whenever anybody healthy comes in your life, when you are controlled by a manipulator, remember that it's going to be a threat. You know, maybe a manipulator in your life wouldn't see the puppy as a threat in your life. I'm just using them as an example of how they will handle those people, situations, dreams that you may have, things that you may want to do to nurture you. All of those things they will find as a threat. And so they will try to change the way that you feel about them. Maybe very subtly, as they position themselves as your savior, as the protector, keeping you from the horror of the puppy. When you see the food on your face, it's not a pretty picture, but you can wipe it off all by yourself. I don't need to hold your hand, because you're a whole person. Do it with love, kindness, and caring. Don't reflect the toxicity that has been controlling you. Send them forgiveness as you forgive yourself and you step into your power. It's a beautiful thing, taking your life back. I love you.